I came home from deployment with 2 duffel bags, a dead phone, and one thought in my head. Sleep in my own bed. That was it. Not a party. Not a speech. Not some big emotional reunion with flags and hugs and everyone crying in the driveway. I had been gone 9 months, and all I wanted was a shower that did not involve wearing sandals, a refrigerator with real food in it, and 8 hours of sleep in the house I had worked 6 years to buy. Instead, my key did not work. My brother's truck was in my driveway. His girlfriend's car was parked beside it. There were beer cans on my porch, a cheap plastic kiddie pool in my front yard even though I did not have children, and a doormat I had never seen before that said "Home Sweet Home." I stood there in my uniform, exhausted, dusty, and confused, trying to understand why my own front door would not open. Then my brother finally answered. He was wearing my hoodie, not a similar hoodie. Mine, the dark gray one from Fort Carson. The one I had owned for almost 10 years. He looked at me, blinked like I was a package delivered to the wrong address, and said, "Oh, you're back early?" I had been gone 9 months. The house was mine. And my family had apparently decided that because I was deployed, my life was available for someone else to move into. My name is Caleb Mercer. I was 33 when this happened. I was an Army logistics officer, which sounds more boring than it is. My job was making sure supplies, equipment, vehicles, schedules, parts, fuel, and people got where they needed to go without everything collapsing into expensive chaos. Basically, I spent years learning that if you did not track things carefully, someone would always claim they misunderstood. That skill saved me later. I bought my house 2 years before the deployment. It was a modest ranch-style place outside Kansas City. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, attached garage, small backyard, cracked driveway, and a kitchen with cabinets from sometime around the Clinton administration. It was not impressive. But it was mine. I saved for years for the down payment. I worked overtime. I skipped trips. I drove the same old truck long after it developed a sound that made mechanics look spiritually tired. I bought that house because I wanted one place on earth where my life could stay put. Military life moves you around enough. You get used to boxes, temporary furniture, storage units, cheap apartments, and never really knowing if the next set of orders will pull everything up by the roots again. That house was supposed to be my anchor. I painted the walls myself. Replaced the kitchen faucet, fixed the garage shelves. Put in new flooring in the guest room. Built a small workbench in the garage. Planted 2 maple trees in the backyard because my dad once said a real house needed shade that would outlive you. Before I deployed, I made everything easy. Mortgage on autopay. Utilities on autopay. Lawn service prepaid. Security cameras active. Mail forwarding set up. I gave my parents a spare key and asked them to check on the place once in a while. Water the plants. Make sure the pipes did not freeze. Make sure nothing looked wrong. That was it. I did not ask them to redecorate. I did not ask them to rent it out. I did not ask them to turn my house into a recovery center for my younger brother's latest failure. My brother's name is Ryan. He was 29 then, 4 years younger than me and somehow permanently 17 in my mother's eyes. Ryan had charm the way some people have credit card debt. Too much of it, and none of it actually useful when life got serious. He had worked delivery jobs, sales jobs, warehouse jobs, started 2 businesses, joined 3 gyms, dated women who always seemed to have better credit than him, and left behind a trail of unpaid bills that my parents treated like weather damage. Nobody caused it. It just happened. My mother, Linda, had a soft spot for Ryan that was less like a soft spot and more like a legal blindness. If Ryan lost a job, the manager was unfair. If Ryan missed rent, the landlord was predatory. If Ryan borrowed money and did not pay it back, he was embarrassed and we should not make him feel worse. My father, Frank, was not as openly emotional, but he avoided conflict like it was a live grenade. He would grumble, sigh, say Ryan needed to grow up, and then do exactly what my mother wanted because it was easier than listening to her cry. I was the reliable one. The one who answered calls. The one who saved money. The one who showed up. And in families like mine, responsibility is not respected. It is harvested. About 2 months into my deployment, my mother called me. The connection was bad. Her face froze twice on the video call, once with her mouth open in a way that would have been funny under different circumstances. "Caleb," she said, "I need to ask you something, and I don't want you to get upset." That sentence is always a warning. What happened? It's Ryan. Of course it was. He lost his apartment. I closed my eyes. How? The rent went up. How many months did he miss before that? She looked away from the camera. Caleb. How many? 2. Maybe 3. But he was trying. There it was. He was trying. The family password that opened every locked door except accountability. "What do you want from me?" I asked. "He just needs somewhere to stay for a little while." "No." I said it immediately. Not because I hated my brother. I did not. At least, not then. But I knew Ryan. A little while meant until someone physically carried him out. A favor meant a new arrangement. Help meant you were now responsible for whatever happened next. My mother's face tightened. You are not even using the house. I am deployed, Mom. That is not the same thing. It is sitting empty. It is my home. He has nowhere else to go. Then he can stay with you. She sighed. Your father and I do not have the space. They had a finished basement. I said that. She said Dad's knees could not handle the stairs. I said Ryan could sleep on the couch. She said that would be humiliating for him. I looked around at the plywood walls of the room I was calling from and wondered if anyone in my family knew what humiliation actually meant. 2 weeks, she said. That is all I'm asking. 2 weeks so he can figure things out. No guests. I said. Her face changed slightly because she knew she was getting somewhere. No parties. No moving furniture. No touching the garage or office. No smoking inside. No changing locks. You and Dad keep the spare key. He leaves in 2 weeks. Put that in a text so I have it written down. She looked hurt. Do you really need it in writing? Yes. Caleb, he is your brother. And that is exactly why I need it in writing. She did not like that. But she sent the text. Ryan will stay at your house for 2 weeks only. No guests, no parties, no moving your belongings, no changing locks, no touching garage or office. Dad and I keep spare key. He will leave before you return. I screenshotted it. Then I texted Ryan directly. 2 weeks. Follow the rules. Do not make me regret this. He replied. Thanks bro. Seriously. I owe you. That aged about as well as milk in a hot car. 2 weeks passed. I asked if Ryan was out. Mom said he needed a few more days because an apartment application fell through. Then another week. Then he had a promising job interview. Then he was waiting on a paycheck. Then he was depressed and my mother did not want to push him too hard. I was thousands of miles away, working 14-hour days, dealing with vehicle manifests, fuel shortages, supply delays, and enough stress to make sleep feel like a rumor. Every time I brought up the house, my parents told me not to worry while I was deployed. That became their favorite phrase. Don't worry about it. It is handled, we have it under control. Ryan is getting back on his feet. Then one night, one of my buddies sent me a screenshot. Isn't this your living room? He wrote. It was an Instagram post from Kayla, Ryan's girlfriend. I had met Kayla twice. She was the kind of woman who called people toxic whenever they told her no. Lala larring my couch? My TV. My coffee table. Except there were string lights on the wall, blankets I did not own, and some white shelf thing covered in candles. Caption. Finally making this place feel like home. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I called my mother. She did not answer. I called my father. He answered on the 4th ring. Dad, I said, why is Kayla posting pictures from inside my house? A pause. Then he sighed. Caleb, don't get worked up. That was answer enough. She moved in? It's not like that. Did she move in? She was having trouble with her roommate. I laughed once. Not because it was funny. Because sometimes your brain has to release steam somehow. I said no guests. I know. I said Ryan had 2 weeks. I know. I said nobody touches my house. I know. Then why is his girlfriend living there? Your father lowered his voice. Your mother thought it would help him settle down. I looked around at where I was. The cot. The gear. The dust. The bad lighting. The noise outside. And back home. My brother and his girlfriend were settling down in the house I paid for. Get them out, I said. We will talk to him. No. Get them out. Caleb, you are overseas. There is no reason to add stress right now. I almost threw the phone. Instead, I said, you have 1 week. But 1 week became more excuses. Then communication got spotty. Work intensified. I had responsibilities I could not ignore, because my family could not be trusted with basic boundaries. By month 6, I stopped asking as often. Not because I had accepted it, because I had learned something in the army. Sometimes you cannot fight every battle while you are still in range of larger fire. So I waited. And I saved everything. Every text. Every screenshot. Every social media post. Every message from my parents admitting it was temporary. Every excuse. I came home 3 months later. My flight landed late. My phone was nearly dead. My body did not know what time it was. I had slept maybe 4 hours across 2 days, all of it bad. I rented a car because my truck was supposed to be in my garage. That was funny too, in hindsight. I pulled into my driveway just after 4 in the afternoon. Ryan's truck was there. Kayla's car too. The lawn looked rough even though I had prepaid service. One of the maple saplings in the backyard was visible from the driveway, dead and leaning. There were beer cans on the porch. A cheap wind chime hung near the door. And that stupid home sweet home mat sat where my old plain black one should have been. I walked up with my duffel bag, inserted my key, and turned it. Nothing. I tried again. Nothing. The lock had been changed. I stood there breathing slowly. That is something people do not understand about anger. Real anger, the kind that changes relationships forever, is not always loud. Sometimes it makes you very calm. I rang the doorbell. Footsteps. Then Ryan opened the door wearing my hoodie. "Oh," he said. "You're back early?" I looked at him. "Early?" He scratched the back of his neck. "I thought you weren't back until next week. I was deployed for 9 months. "Yeah, I just meant," he trailed off. Kayla appeared behind him holding a coffee mug I recognized because it was mine. She looked annoyed. "You could have texted before showing up." I stared at her. "Before showing up to my house?" She rolled her eyes. "Okay, obviously it's your house legally." Legally. That word did not slip by me. I stepped forward. Ryan hesitated, then moved aside. The smell hit me first. Stale beer. Cheap candles. Takeout. And dog. "I don't own a dog," I said. Kayla smiled tightly. "Jasper is small." A small brown dog barked from the hallway like it had been personally offended by my deployment. My living room was barely recognizable. My couch had a stain on one cushion. The coffee table had rings all over it. My framed military photos were gone from the wall. The bookshelf I built had been replaced by Kayla's white shelf full of candles, fake plants, and little signs with words like blessed and grateful. Nothing makes you feel homicidal like seeing the word grateful in a house someone stole from you. I walked down the hallway. Ryan followed. "Man, before you freak out, stop talking." My office door was open. It had been converted into Kayla's makeup room. Vanity lights. Boxes. A ring light. My desk was pushed into the corner, scratched. My filing cabinet had been moved. My printer was missing. I walked to the guest room. Clothes everywhere, fast food bags, a mattress on the floor. The garage was worse. My truck was not there. "My truck," I said. Ryan rubbed his face. "It's at Dad's." "Why?" "We needed the garage space." "For what?" He did not answer. I looked inside. Boxes of Ryan's junk. A broken treadmill. Kayla's old furniture. Tools scattered everywhere. My workbench covered in paint cans I did not buy. My table saw had a cracked guard. My drill set was missing. So was my socket set. I turned around slowly. Ryan lifted both hands. "Okay, I know this looks bad." I walked back inside. Kayla stood in the kitchen. My kitchen. She had painted one wall pale green. Badly. There was paint on the trim. "You painted my kitchen." She shrugged. It was depressing before. I nodded once. Then I called my parents. My mother answered cheerfully. "Caleb? Are you home?" "Yes. You and Dad need to get over here. Now." She hesitated. "Is something wrong?" I looked at Ryan. "Yes." They arrived 30 minutes later. 30 minutes during which I said almost nothing. I took photos. Living room, office, garage, kitchen, locks, stains, damage, missing items, dog bowls, Kayla's stuff, Ryan's stuff, changelock brand, dead maple tree, beer cans, everything. Ryan kept trying to talk. I ignored him. Kayla kept muttering that I was being dramatic. I ignored her too. When my parents walked in, my mother's first words were not, "I'm sorry." They were, "Caleb, please don't make this harder than it has to be." That told me everything. My father looked tired. Not ashamed. Tired. Like I was a problem added to his day. I stood in the living room. "Explain." Mom clasped her hands. "Your brother needed stability. He was supposed to stay 2 weeks." "I know, but things changed." "Who changed the locks?" Ryan said. "I did." My mother jumped in. "He needed to feel secure." I looked at her. "In my house?" "Caleb, you were gone anyway." There it was. 4 words that burned through whatever patience I had left. I was gone anyway. I was not on vacation. I was not backpacking through Europe. I was not abandoning my responsibilities. I was deployed. Serving. Working. Living in conditions none of them would tolerate for a weekend. And they had treated my absence like permission. Kayla crossed her arms. "Ryan lives here now. We have routines. You can't just barge in and act like nothing changed." I turned to her. "You are in my house without permission." She looked at my mother like she expected backup. My mother gave it. Kayla had nowhere else to go. I laughed softly. "So now my house is a shelter?" Dad sighed. "Son, be reasonable. You have options. You have military benefits. Temporary housing. You can stay with us for a while." I stared at him. "You want me to stay with you?" "Just until Ryan figures things out." "Ryan has been figuring things out since middle school." My mother's face hardened. "That is unfair." "No, Mom. What is unfair is coming home from deployment and finding out my family gave my house away." "We did not give it away," she said. "You changed the locks." Ryan said. I changed the locks because Kayla was uncomfortable with old keys floating around. I looked at my father. You still have the spare? He looked away. They asked for it. Of course they did. And of course he gave it. Ryan shifted his weight. You act like owning a house makes you better than me. I looked at him. No. Paying for one makes it mine. He flushed. Mom stepped between us like Ryan was the injured party. Caleb. He needs this place more than you do. That was the final line, the one that made everything clear. Not temporary. Not misunderstanding. Not bad communication. They believed this. They believed my brother needed my house more than I had a right to it. I picked up my duffel. My mother's expression softened with relief, like she thought I was giving in. I was not. I'm going to a hotel, I said. Nobody touches anything else. Nobody throws anything away. Nobody moves my truck. Nobody removes property. Nobody changes anything. Ryan scoffed. Or what? I looked at him. Or you find out what happens when I stop treating you like family. Then I left. At the hotel, I showered for 20 minutes. Not because I needed that long. Because I needed to stand somewhere quiet where nobody was wearing my clothes or telling me my life was negotiable. Then I sat at the desk, opened my laptop, and started building the case. Deed. Mortgage documents, insurance policy, utility bills, deployment orders. Text from my mother confirming Ryan had 2 weeks. Text from Ryan agreeing to the rules. Screenshots of Kayla's posts. Photos from before deployment. Photos from that day. Receipts for my tools. Serial numbers for the expensive ones. Messages where my parents admitted Kayla moved in. Text from Dad saying, "We will talk to him," after I demanded they leave. Everything. The next morning, I called legal assistance on base. They gave me basic guidance and referred me to a civilian attorney who handled property disputes and evictions. Her name was Nora Blake. She was in her 40s, direct, and had the kind of calm voice that told me she had heard every excuse in the world and billed most of them hourly. I sat in her office with a folder and a flash drive. She reviewed everything. Then she said, "You did one thing very right." "What?" "You put the original permission in writing." I exhaled. "What can I do?" "Carefully," she said. "That is the answer. Carefully. Depending on how long he has lived there and how he established residency, you cannot just drag him out or throw everything on the curb. We need to serve notice properly. He paid no rent. Good. He violated every condition. Also good. He changed locks. Very good for your case. I want him out. We can get him out. But we do it legally. Notice, documentation, police report for missing property if applicable, insurance claim for damage if worth it, and if he refuses, eviction filing." I wanted to be angry that it would not be immediate. But Nora was right. A dumb reaction could give Ryan leverage. And I was done giving that man anything. So I did it legally. Notice was served 2 days later. Ryan called me within 10 minutes. I did not answer. Then Mom. Then Dad. Then Kayla from a number I did not know. Then Ryan texted, "You really served me papers? After everything?" After everything. The confidence of people who create the problem and then act betrayed by the consequences will never stop amazing me. I replied once. All communication goes through my attorney. Then I blocked him. Kayla posted online that night. Some people come back from deployment and forget family matters. Attached was a vague selfie of her looking sad in my living room. My living room. I screenshotted it. Nora loved that. People do love documenting their own bad judgment, she said. My mother cried on voicemail. "Caleb. Please. He has nowhere to go. You are making your brother homeless." I sent the voicemail to Nora. My father texted. "This has gone too far. Come talk like a man." I forwarded that too. Talking like a man apparently meant letting everyone else define ownership while I paid the mortgage. The legal notice gave Ryan a deadline. He did not leave. Of course he did not. Instead, he tried to argue that he had tenant rights, that he had lived there for months, that my family had agreed he could stay. Nora was ready. He may have some procedural rights, she told me, but rights come with facts. He paid no rent. He had written temporary permission. He violated written conditions. He changed locks without authorization. He allowed another person and an animal to move in. He damaged property. He refused to leave after notice. This is not the hill he thinks it is. We filed. Meanwhile, I stayed in a hotel, then short-term military housing. My own house sat 15 minutes away, occupied by my brother, his girlfriend, their dog, and their delusion. That was the part that ate at me. I had slept in bad places before. Metal bunks. Cots. Airport floors. Vehicles. I could sleep anywhere. But not being able to sleep in my own bed because my family had decided my brother deserved it more? That was different. That was not inconvenience. That was theft with hugs around it. A court-ordered walkthrough happened 3 weeks later. Ryan hated that. Kayla hated it more. Nora came with me. So did a neutral third-party inspector and a sheriff's deputy who stood around looking bored, which I appreciated more than enthusiasm. My parents showed up too, uninvited. Mom looked pale, Dad looked embarrassed. Good. We started outside. Dead maple tree. Broken porch light. Beer stains on concrete. Scratched front door. Unauthorized lock change. Inside, Nora documented everything. Living room couch stain. Holes in drywall from mounted shelves. Paint on kitchen trim. Damaged flooring near the back door. Dog scratches. Office converted without permission. Missing printer. Missing monitor. Damaged desk. Garage full of junk. Broken table saw guard. Missing drill set. Missing socket set. Oil stain on garage floor from something Ryan had tried to fix and failed. Then the bedroom, my bedroom. I stood in the doorway and felt something inside me go quiet. The bed was unmade. Kayla's clothes were on a chair. Ryan's shoes near the dresser. A framed photo from my army commissioning ceremony had been shoved into the closet, cracked. My mother saw it. For the first time, shame crossed her face. Real shame. Not enough to change anything, but enough that I knew she finally saw at least 1 inch of what she had done. Kayla said, "It's just stuff." I looked at her. "No, it's evidence." Ryan muttered, "You're enjoying this." I turned to him. "No, I enjoyed buying this house. I enjoyed fixing it. I enjoyed knowing I had somewhere to come home to. This is paperwork." My mother whispered, "Can't you just forgive him?" I stared at the cracked frame. I forgave enough when I let him in. The eviction order came through later. Ryan and Kayla had a final deadline. My parents begged. My mother called from different numbers. My father sent emails. Ryan wrote one long message through a cousin about how I had always looked down on him, how I had the army and benefits and discipline, how nobody understood how hard life was for him. I did not respond. Ryan and Kayla moved out 2 days before the final deadline. I arrived after they left with Nora, a locksmith, and a cleaning crew. The house was worse than during the walkthrough. They had taken the TV. Not Ryan's TV. Mine. The guest room carpet had a huge stain that looked deliberate. The refrigerator was full of rotting food. Someone had poured something sticky into the kitchen drawers. The garage smelled like gasoline. My remaining tools were scattered. The back fence gate was broken. The dog had chewed part of the laundry room trim, and taped to the kitchen wall was a note from Kayla. "Hope your precious house keeps you warm." I took a photo. Nora looked at it and said, "That was thoughtful of her." What? She signed the damages emotionally. I laughed for the first time since I got home. Not because it was funny. Because Nora's dry hatred of stupidity was the only thing keeping me from putting my fist through my own wall. We filed a police report for missing items. Insurance covered some damage, not all. I paid for repairs up front. Then Nora sent a demand letter. Ryan owed for missing property, locksmith costs, cleaning, repairs, unpaid utilities, legal fees were recoverable, and damage beyond normal use. He laughed at first, then he received the actual numbers. He stopped laughing. My parents called it cruel. Dad said, "You already got the house back." I said, "And now I'm getting back what he destroyed." Mom said, "He cannot afford this. Then he should not have made it expensive. He's your brother. He was my brother when you handed him my keys too." She cried. I did not. Small claims and settlement pressure did what family never could. It made Ryan take responsibility. Not morally. Financially, he agreed to a payment plan after Nora made it clear the next step would be worse for him. My parents helped him with the first payment, because of course they did. But this time, I did not care where the money came from. I changed every lock. Installed new cameras. Replaced the garage code. Removed my parents as emergency contacts. Changed my will. Updated my beneficiaries. Moved important documents to a safe deposit box. Blocked Kayla everywhere. Blocked Ryan. Blocked my mother after one final voicemail where she said she hoped I was proud of myself. I did not block my father immediately. I gave him one chance. He came by 2 months after the house was empty. I let him stand on the porch. I did not invite him in. He looked older. He looked tired. Was it worth it? I leaned against the doorframe. Worth what? All this. The lawyers. The money. The family being torn apart. I looked past him at the driveway where Ryan's truck had been parked the day I came home. "Dad, I was deployed. I trusted you with a key." He looked down. No, I don't think you do. I did not ask you for money. I did not ask you to maintain the house. I did not ask you to sacrifice anything. I asked you to check on my home. Instead, you handed it to Ryan and then acted like I was selfish for wanting it back. He needed help. So did I. He looked up. I continued. I needed my family to remember I existed while I was gone. I needed you to protect one thing for me. 1. You couldn't do that because Ryan needed something. He had no answer. That was the most honest he had ever been. Finally, he said, "I thought you could handle it." I nodded slowly. "That's the problem. You always thought I could handle it. So you kept giving me things no one should have to handle." His eyes watered, but he did not cry. "I'm sorry," he said, "I wanted that to fix something." It did not. Maybe because it came after the lawyers. After the damage. After the eviction. After the demand letter. After I had already learned I could not trust him with a key, a boundary, or my absence. "I believe you," I said. "But I'm done." "With all of us?" "Yes." He closed his eyes. Then nodded once. He left without another word. I repaired the house over the next 4 months. New paint. New carpet in the guest room. Refinished floors. New porch light. New kitchen trim. Rebuilt part of the laundry room. Replaced the missing tools. Planted a new maple tree in the backyard. I thought fixing it would make it feel like mine again. And in some ways, it did. But something had changed. Every room had an echo now. Not Ryan's presence exactly. The betrayal. I would walk through the hallway and remember my key not working. I would open the garage and remember seeing my tools gone. I would stand in the kitchen and hear my mother saying, "You were gone anyway." The house was mine legally. But emotionally, my family had broken something there that paint could not cover. So I sold it. Not immediately. I waited until repairs were done, the market was right, and Ryan's payment plan had started. Then I listed it. My realtor asked if I was sure. I said yes. A young couple bought it. First-time homeowners. The husband was a firefighter. The wife was a nurse. They loved the backyard. They said they wanted to plant vegetables and maybe build a playset someday. I liked them. I hope they are happy there. Before closing, I walked through the house one last time. The walls were clean. The floors looked good. The kitchen was fixed. The new maple tree in the backyard was small but alive. I stood in the empty living room with my hands in my pockets and remembered the day I got the keys for the first time. How proud I had been. How I sat on the floor that night eating pizza from a paper plate because I did not own a table yet. I had thought that house meant no one could take my stability from me. I was wrong. A house can be invaded. Locks can be changed. Rooms can be damaged. Families can convince themselves that your absence means consent. Peace has to be kept somewhere deeper than an address. After closing, I bought a smaller condo closer to base, 2 bedrooms. Secure building. Underground parking. No spare key given to anyone related to me. My mother found out I sold the house through a cousin. She called from an unknown number. I almost did not answer. But I did. "If you were going to sell it," she said, voice shaking, "why put everyone through all that?" I looked around my new living room. Boxes everywhere. No history yet. No ghosts. "Because you needed to learn that my life does not become public property when I leave the country." She cried. "You destroyed this family over a house." "No," I said. "You damaged the house. Ryan destroyed the trust. You and Dad destroyed the family when you decided I mattered less because I was not standing there to stop you." He had nowhere to go. And I had nowhere to come home to. She had no answer. So I gave her the only one I had left. "Do not call me again." Then I hung up. People love to say family helps family. I agree. But help has a shape. Help is asking. Help is respecting no. Help is returning what you borrow in better condition than you found it. Help is not changing the locks on a deployed soldier's house. Help is not moving your girlfriend into his bedroom. Help is not telling him he has military housing, so his brother needs his home more. They kept saying it was just a house. They were wrong. It was every overtime shift I worked to save the down payment. It was every weekend I spent painting walls and fixing cabinets. It was the first place I ever owned that no one was supposed to be able to take from me. Then I deployed, and they treated my absence like an invitation. So I came home. I took back the house. I sent them the bill. Then I sold the place, changed my number, locked every door they had ever walked through, and finally understood something I should have learned years earlier. Being reliable does not mean being available. Being family does not mean being entitled. And being gone does not mean people get to occupy your life like you are never coming back. I served overseas. But the hardest place I ever had to reclaim was my own front door. Now I sleep in a home where every key is mine. And no one gets a spare. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.